What's going on, guys? This is Othinus here, and today we have my buddy Alex Mondlak. You got top 64 at the YCS in Los Angeles. And what place did you get?
I got 33rd after Swiss. I ended Swiss at 10-2, so it's a very solid record. Like, there's people at X21 that also made it in, so honestly, very comfortable. Played cash kind of like most of the people in the room. It was like one of the few decks you could learn within a single evening, so... But overall, can't complain about the deck's performance. Like, a lot of the staples, which we're going to see later on in deck profile, were built around the Rise Pass, was the assumption, which is what a lot of cash players were doing at the event. But otherwise, we can get right into it.
Yep, but before we get into the list, just want to say this mat looks absolutely beautiful. Just had to point that out.
Oh, yeah, it looks gorgeous, and plus it's got the 25th anniversary logo right up here. I'm a huge collector of these types of mats, so being able to win one of them for the collection is always amazing.
Very nice. All right, buddy, let's start with the list.
So the typical 3 Unicorn, 3 Fenrir, 1 Ogre, 1 Scareclaw, 1 Rise Heart. This is a pretty normal ratio, especially going to an event. Like, with people playing Desires, you tend to play 2 Rise Heart. But I don't play Desires, so I only needed 1 Rise Heart. Occasionally, if it got Diabolo sniped, it kind of sucked, but you can play around it, usually, especially if you open, any of your board breakers.
Did you ever get Diabolo sniped during the YCS?
Yes, I got my Rise Heart, sniped out from the deck twice, but I was able to win the game anyway because my main deck was full of heavy board breakers. So it was you Diabolo sniped out one of my guys, RNG'd, banished to Rise, but we're fine anyway.
True.
And then spells, 3 Birth, 1 Terraforming, 3 Pot, 3 Theosis. And then for this engine cards remaining, these 2. So some people don't play Prep. Prep is one of those cards that if you talk to cash players, you're always going to get a 50-50 response out of them, whether or not they like it. Because when you're going for the 5-card zone lock, essentially, Ogre in the deck makes it a 3-card lock with a Rise, essentially. But for me, I was like, hey, I want Prep in here to get more out of my Ogre. And I can't complain at all because I had one game against a Dragon Link player where they Magma banished a Rise. And then it was I had to read this, see if it was Prep, where Prep can only special non-Exceed. No, this thing can special Exceed, and I just specialed the Rise back from the banish, and I ended up winning the game.
So here's my question. Did you like Prep in your deck list then?
Yes. Yes, I did. So it had 2 times where it did snipe out a card from their hand. It's kind of similar to Birth and Fenrir, Unicorn, and all of them. When they use a trap or effect on the resolution of that, you can just hand rip. And it does come up during the grind game, but the biggest thing I like about it is, hey, you can keep up a grind game in mirrors super efficiently by just having Prep on top of Birth, just giving constant pressure.
All right.
So, no complaints about it. Even in my updated list, which will be down in the description, I use Prep still. But as for some of the staples, it was these. Almost forgot 3 field spell for the engine up here. But yeah, accidentally got caught in the staples. But so these were my staple lineups for the YCS. And I can't complain for the event at all. Kind of what I mentioned earlier. I was coming into YCS assuming a lot of cash players in the mirror are going to go Rise Pass, which ended up being the case for a good chunk of them in the early rounds, mid rounds. Whereas the style that a lot of cash players ended up topping with was, hey, go 5 zone lock, nobody's maining the Biru, which is what ended up being the case. A lot of people were on board breakers more. So I can't complain about this lineup because when people are attempting to go for the 5, you got your Gamma Imperm to help stop that. But if they go Rise Pass, you got all these essentially here that can just deal with them.
Actually, I have one question. Did you like the 3 thrusts and the 1 talents ratio?
Yes, I did. So the big thing about it is with a Rise being mandatory, there's a lot of times where they may not run into talents themselves, but they would run into thrusts because, you know, they're not doing anything during the main phase, but they're doing stuff during the standby, they're doing stuff during draw, battle, basically anything around it. But thrusts in particular, right, if tactics happens to be live, you can just grab tactics, but if not, you just grab terraforming. If you already got field spell, you can just grab pot. Or if not, you could just grab evenly. So I just like this ratio in particular because thrust itself essentially can be tactics when it needs to be. But if not, you just grab whatever else they may be, like a terraforming for your consistency, or pot, or evenly. So otherwise, moving into the extra deck.
Your middle name's James?
Yes, it is. We're recording a video right now. Anyway. Yeah. That's going to be funny. But moving...
Oh, yeah, and that was that a 40 card main deck or...
41.
41 card main deck.
But moving into the extra, so the Rise targets to attach were these three. Generic Link for... Because Plunder can give you a token, and sometimes they give you a body like Ibly. This helps clear it out. Seuss, and then rank 7 lineup. So the big thing I really liked about this YCS list in particular was like 2 Big Eye. Because if you're playing against the mirror, the first thing they try to deal bolo snipe is Big Eye because you're usually on double Seuss no matter what. And so, essentially, having 2 Big Eye eliminated the option. Like, their main options of banish face down was, like, Draco Sack or, like, a Diabolos. Or sometimes, what a lot of times they did was a Rise Heart.
Right.
But, which is the correct play. Like, going for the Arise, just in case if it's a grind game that pops up, you want to get rid of as many Arises as possible. But overall, I couldn't really complain about this extra deck, except for Draco Sack.
Yeah, see, hey, I was wondering, Alex, why are you playing Draco Sack and not that Armed Dragon monster?
Because I don't read like any Yu-Gi-Oh player, and I thought it was a once per turn, and nobody told me until after I submitted my list that Dark Armed is not a once per turn. So the whole time when I was making my list and then submitting it, I thought, oh, why play Dark Armed? It's a once per turn. It can't out-skill drain. Draco Sack can out-skill drain if I play against Labyrinth. Turns out I was completely wrong, and fortunately, the Dark Arm win came up anyway, but just play Dark Arm. Like, and even the most recent list, you're not going to see Draco Sack. You're going to see Dark Arm because I actually can read now.
Very nice.
So, yeah, thank
sweet.
you.
Nice TS back.
Not on hand right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. And you
Yeah.
even top tier at locals today with cash.
Yeah. But moving on to the side deck. 3 Cosmic, 3D Barrier, 3 of this, 3 of Epsilon, and then this was Humongous, like the Spire Kaiju. I had to borrow it off my buddy's sack. So, Humongous was good. Like, it was fine. Like, if someone goes a Rise Pass or Shang, like, at something in 5 Sunlock you can just go, hey, ignore that. Thank you. And attempting to just, go Humongous. But overall, the side deck was, like, alright. Like, the only real one I kind of didn't like for cash specifically was this. Because when they set up the full board and, you know, using a Rise, using their Shang and whatever, you can tribute the board off with this. But the issue behind it is you have a body now on field, and it's hard to clear that body out. So in the most recent list, like, you're gonna see what my side deck looks like. It's got a few more better going first cards, but overall, and like better going second, I would say, with like Dark Ruler and such. But overall, for the Fent itself, like the 250 itself, I can't complain. Like, this card in particular, I was really hoping to come up, but it only came up once. Epsilon, to people that aren't aware, is the trap counterpart of Gamma. And so, basically, control no monsters, you can negate a trap, special out driver, and Epsilon. And the main targets for them was for Erad and Branded Expulsion specifically. And I did get one expulsion off, like with Epsilon, but otherwise it didn't really come up too much. But I would recommend to anyone in this format, if you're playing Gamma in your main, you should probably side Epsilon because, you can hit Anti-Spell. Like, you can hit Expulsion, you can hit Erad. Like, it just hits so many cards that just get shotgun during the standby phase. And then in the extra deck too, which is what was shown earlier, the Omega, you just synchro Omega, clear the buyout away, and then go on with your cash combo anyway. But even if they have no cards in their hand, you can just go Tribute 2, summon a cash, and just go on with your day.
I'm gonna say, how many times did you summon Omega at the YCS, if you even did summon him?
So I summoned him twice. Most of the time it was being used though, was I would go Prosperity for like 3 or 6. And then Arise would be, filtering out the extra deck banished face downs. And Omega in particular came up one game where Diabolos did snipe the Rise Heart, where they outed my Arise, Omega went in grave, and then Omega put back the Rise Heart back into my deck, and then I was able to crack back after that. So overall, I couldn't complain anymore about the list. Like, it's literally because working in public accounting, you get busy season hours, and with the staple selections that I end up making, they end up having a huge impact. Where I remember during that YCS2, unless it was Nibiru specifically, there's so many people complaining about like how underperforming their hand traps were, especially if someone were to go Arise Pass. But I had the opposite where, I would lose the die roll. Like in Swiss, I only won 3 die roll. And then it's like, they set up a crazy board. That's cool story evenly.
Cool story.
So it was good. Like, I couldn't have been happier. But since the way cash players have adapted to people using more board breakers, and everyone in this format would tell you, hey, cash constantly switch from playing around hand traps or playing around board breakers. Like, that's the way it goes. My current list is more hand trap oriented because cash players have gotten more greedy, and that's going to be down in the description for anyone that wants to see it.
Well, do you have any shout-outs you want to do?
Shout-outs. So I was huge shout out Anthony Richardson. Like, he end up pulling through for me at like after just pre-reg and exhausting day of work. Anthony was my main testing partner I learned the deck from. And so him and I through our mirrors like taught me a lot and got me ready enough, because if I had to come in blind, I would have been out by like round 4. So I learned a lot about the deck through our testing. And then just like shout out to Team Prestige as well. They're the main guys that I come out and rep and wear the jacket for. So
awesome. Well, for real, thank you, Shin, for saying that. For real. Thanks for your time, Alex.
Thank you very much.